And good evening. Welcome to the session where we will be discussing the chronology of potential. I'm Sue Matheson, certified integrity game coach and mentor. I have been moving through a series which addresses some really key questions that CEOs and business leaders do well to ask to help build resilience, help them withstand the pressures that are bound to come their way, if not, they're already facing. To give context to where we're up to in this conversation, the integrity game is a framework. It's a 10-point model that helps to build resilience, structure into our organizations. It's a frame that as individuals we can use ourselves. I started off with the question of purpose. What is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of your life, of your business? And if you're a professional, what's the meaning of your position or job that you're in? And then it's about integrating that with your gifts. What are your talents, skills, abilities? And for businesses, we were focusing on what are your competitive advantages, which then took us to the third point on this model around potential. Potential comes out of the integration of those two previous points, purpose and gifts. It invites us to ask the question, what is the potential that we have to achieve in our lives? But also, what is the potential within a business? And this is where, within the chronology of potential, we look at vision, mission, and then objectives. Each of those having a time element to them. Now, last year I had the privilege of co-authoring Get a Clue in 52 for speakers with my own coach, Jeff Klubeck, and a shout out to him. We looked at this question when we were working through the integrity game framework at the in the first section of this book. We did that because answering the questions in the integrity game framework, each of the 10 points on the model, builds the foundation for everything else that comes afterwards. And I thought it might be helpful to actually read some of what we wrote in the tip on the chronology of potential from the book to give an understanding of what do we mean by vision, mission, and objectives. So I'm going to read. Broken down by time or chronologically, we start to declare our potential with a vision. When you look out as far into your future as you possibly can, what do you see? Visualize standing in place and turning around 360 degrees. Take a picture of all that you can see and describe it. Write it down. Explain it to another. all of the things that make up a complete description of everything you can see when you look out into your future, as far as you can see, that is your vision. And it applies equally as an individual as to an organization. Once you have that vision, once you can describe it vividly and clearly, you can declare your mission. What is the biggest achievement and accomplishment that would prove you on your way to that vision? It is not something you can achieve today or this week. It is still quite a ways out because it is huge. But it's a little bit closer than your vision. What is your mission is not asking about vagaries or empty words that sound good. A mission is an accomplishment or achievement that takes a long time to earn and proves we are on our way to our vision. It is something that is perhaps several years away from being achieved, but not as far out as we ask you to look when defining your vision. It's closer than farthest out, but still large enough to be more than a year or two away. Objectives after the annual time frame. There's our vision that puts us on a mission that breaks down to our annual objectives. Now, I'm going to repeat that because it just very succinctly puts all of that together. There's our vision that puts us on a mission that breaks down to our annual objectives. By this time next year, what must you have that you don't have now? What must you have done that you've not done now? What must you learn that you don't know now? It's about focused progress towards your mission and vision. And that is where your annual objectives come into play. Now, it could be that you just have 3 or 4 dominant objectives that you must meet by this time next year that will have you well on your way to achieving your mission, which then has you well on your way to achieving your vision. I wanted to touch briefly too on a couple of reasons why spending time looking at your potential is really valuable, and maybe things that to consider. Working through this process improves your emotional resilience. And it does that because engaging with your potential requires courage. It involves facing your fears and overcoming obstacles. An advantage to working through this process is that organizations and individuals learn to manage stress better. When there's pressures that come, when there's things that change unexpectedly, the pillars are in place that allow you to manage those situations more effectively, but also recover more quickly from any setbacks that you might have to go through. Another positive by spending time looking at potential is optimism. By understanding and pursuing your potential. It empowers you to have a far more optimistic outlook on life. At an individual level, this is definitely linked to better health outcomes. And within an organization, collectively, there's going to be better health outcomes because you are aligned in terms of the direction that you are going. There is far less likelihood of employees going off on different tangents, not understanding where it is that the organization is headed. And the more that that is communicated, the more effective it's going to be as well. A big thing with declaring your potential is it doesn't have to be set in concrete. As an organization, your competitive advantages may shift. You may find that there's a better way of doing things. Your vision maybe enlarges, or your mission alters slightly. The longer you go, however, without declaring your potential, the harder it's going to be to have people on the same page in your organization. You're more likely then to have people going off on their own tangent because they're not aligned to where you want to go as an organization. Finally, out of that process, that investment in energy within an organization to work on those, on your vision, your mission, your objectives, the more you talk about it, share ideas, crystallize it, you're going to strengthen the relationships within your organization. There's going to be a greater level of understanding and empathy between people. There's greater openness to understanding the individual challenges that you might have in addressing how you get to where you want to go. But with a shared vision, there is greater capacity to support each other, to understand the strengths in one, the complement the strengths in another. And that is where you can come together and build that integrity, build that resilience that is going to keep your organization in the game for the long haul, to give you that sustainability for an extended period of time. I'd love you to comment if this resonates with you. Comment if you disagree with it, if you'd like to challenge me on anything. I would value your feedback, your thoughts. What has worked for you in the past in this process of setting your vision, your mission, and your objectives? And even what you do on an annual basis in terms of reviewing your objectives. Are you making progress? What do you do when you realize that you're not where you want to be? How do you address those shortfalls? As I said at the start, this is the final week addressing purpose. And coming next week, we move on to the fourth point in the framework, which is looking at goals. From a chronology perspective, this is a shorter time frame again. And looks more at goals from a 3 to 12-month perspective. What are the due dates that you are going to put on specific activities that, again, are going to move you to achieving your objectives? So I look forward to extending the conversation with you as we move into the fourth point on the framework, goals.